the U.S. vetoed full membership for Palestine in the UN. Now, they have a seat in the UN, but it is a non-voting membership. And this was really a vote to give them full membership, which the implication being that there is a state, or I should say a stateless nation.
Recognizing their sovereignty.
Exactly. And 2 abstentions. It was Britain and Switzerland abstained. The rest of the Security Council voting in favor. So the U.S. had to provide the veto. Otherwise, I guess the stated policy of the Biden administration, i.e., sovereignty for Palestine, would have taken a step in the right direction.
A 2-state solution, which we know now. I mean, I think we're starting to get a little bit more educated on this, what a 2-state solution really is. And in my opinion,
it's better in theory.
It's a liberal myth. And it's one that gives Israel more and more time to take more and more territory, because based on how much land Israel has stolen, I mean, just look at a map of the West Bank and Gaza, and without expulsions of many settlers, a 2-state solution is virtually impossible. And it appears that the Biden administration knows this, because Ken Klippenstein and Daniel Boguslaw over at The Intercept reported this ahead of their veto, that they were circulating memos, diplomatic cables behind the scenes about how they were going to veto this. So they don't actually believe in a 2-state solution based on their actions. And I liked this clip here because you can contrast the Palestinian representative here, Riyad Mansour, his emotional plea just for basic human dignity and respect for the Palestinian people, with Israel's response immediately after and their representative.
بل أن شعبنا الفلسطيني كافة.
Our Palestinian people, wherever they are, want life. They cling onto life, just like the other peoples on this planet. The Palestinians are a people who aspire to freedom, to a dignified life, to a peaceful existence. The people of Palestine will not disappear. The people of Palestine will not be buried. The Palestinian people have never been unnecessary. You either do us justice or you do it justice.
We love life, to live in freedom and dignity in our national homeland. We will not disappear. Either you deal with us with fairness and give us our rights, or give us our rights. Thank you very much.
I thank the permanent observer of the Observer State of Palestine for his statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Israel.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I wish to begin by thanking the United States, and particularly President Biden, for standing up for truth and morality in the face of hypocrisy and politics. Colleagues, I sat here mere hours ago describing why this resolution is destructive. I explained how the Palestinian Authority does not meet even the basic criteria, that they have no authority over their territory, and that the Palestinian Authority is a terror-supporting entity. How can you say seriously that the Palestinians are peace-loving? How? The Palestinians are paying terrorists, paying them to slaughter us. None of their leaders condemns terrorism, nor the October 7th massacre. They call Hamas their brothers. The Palestinian representative called Hamas his brothers after the massacre. And they don't even recognize Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state.
Well, yes, as an ethno-state. That isn't the accurate position. That is, I mean, just seeing, and that testimony was even longer, but just cutting it down for brevity there, this emotional plea. And at one point, the Palestinian representative says, we do not want to replace any nation. Our sovereignty is not at the expense of any other nation, obviously referring to Israel. We want to be a part of you. We want to join you. We want to be a part of this member status. And how he gets emotional throughout the speech, speaking about Gaza and what his people are going through. And then you turn to this guy, this representative of Israel, who immediately thanks the United States. When Joe Biden pretends he has no leverage over this situation, he opens with using the United States' veto of Palestinian statehood as what he shields himself with, as Israel's cover. And I just, there has never been a clearer example of where the justice lies here, right? And what this is really about. They're terrorists. They don't deserve it. How can you earnestly say, he says, that the Palestinian people are peaceful? I mean, that is just some of the most racist stuff that you'll hear. And
who else gets paid to rain terror amongst the people? That is the army of the Israelis.
Well, and also Israelis will drive to the border and help starve Palestinians just on their free time too. We've seen videos of that. And
that's true. To be fair, that's also just like hobby stuff.
Yeah, and there was another clip I saw of one of the Israeli spokespeople. I think she does her hits in Britain, basically saying, thank God for the Iron Dome and our air defense. Can you imagine what it would look like had this been worse? Buildings bombed. Can you imagine what Israel and Tel Aviv would have looked like if Iran was successful? Yeah. The destruction. And it's just I don't need to imagine it.
Right.
I mean, this is Justin Bieber, remember when at the beginning after October 7th posted a photo of destructive Gaza and said praying for Israel, then deleted it because it was actually Gaza and it was misleading. I know that's such a stupid example, but that's exactly it. We can see actually what it would look like, and it would be horrible, just as it is horrible what you are in. Right.
Super easy to imagine, because all you need to do is literally, particularly from this distance, just look a little bit to your right, and if you go down south, you will see. You
could ride a bike.
Exactly.
Yep.
Mike from Texas. Yes, the two-state solution is a liberal myth, but let's be honest, the one-state solution is equally a myth. The idea that there's even a remote possibility that the side with all the power, military, diplomatic, media, etc., would give up its monopoly and agree to live side by side with Arabs who outnumber them in a democratic, pluralistic state is, like I said, a myth.
So what's your solution? Because that's actually, I think, fundamentally wrong. This is the same argument people would say black people and white people could not live side by side. There would even be some sort of arguments about that in as it related to South Africa, they're going to want retaliation. The amount of subjugation.
I don't think that's what the argument is. Well, I think the argument is that those in power will not give up the power.
They're going to need to be forced to. I mean, that's fair enough. But all myths also aren't the same. One myth is being used to basically.
I think that's
run
the point.
Clock out.
That's the point. Is that I personally believe the most stable solution and the most just one is a one-state solution. I don't know what is more likely to occur, a two-state solution or a one-state solution. My guess is that it's going to be equally hard to allow for a right of return for Palestinians to come into, Israel and to have it to be a single state is going to be no more or less of a challenge than getting several 100,000 settlers to, move off of land, on the wrong side of the 67 borders. But the problem has been is that the two-state solution has been more of a distraction and a sort of like a letting the air out of the tire, as it were. And that's the problem with that. The biggest problem with that concept now is that it's been a mirage, and it's been a mirage that has been dangled in front of the international community and the Palestinian people where there has really been clearly no intention for at least 30 years that a two-state solution would ever come about. You don't keep putting immigrants into Palestinian land if you think that we're going to ultimately land on a two-state solution. You don't do that.
A one-state solution is possible if the Israeli project becomes unsustainable, given the path that this government has chosen to go down, and that many of the dual citizens choose to return to the UK, to the United States, to other European countries where they have citizenship, and decide that it is no longer safe for them to live in Israel. And then there's a beginning there that then with international pressure, there's a possibility that we can have actual integration, because that's what this is about. Two-state solution is racial segregation, and when you view it through that lens, it becomes entirely uncomplicated.